Okay, so hey guys and welcome back to another Axel 72 video, and in today's video I'm going to be giving my prediction for the Franchon Crews-Dezurn versus Citlalli Ortiz fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into this. So this is on the Hall of Fame night with Salita Promotions, where, of course, I believe it's every year, they induct some more fighters into the Hall of Fame when they are eligible enough. I believe it's past retirement to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think that's how it goes. It's not something that is really talked about a crazy amount, and I feel like it definitely could be pushed and promoted a bit more, but it just genuinely isn't talked about that much. But this is the Hall of Fame night. I know from what I believe, Manny Pacquiao and Vinny Paz are amongst the names of people getting inducted. I don't know how it works with, again, the retirement and how many years you have to be retired for, because of course Manny Pacquiao's coming out of retirement to fight for that world title in July. So I don't necessarily know if that means he's still eligible to be in the Hall of Fame, but nonetheless he was supposedly supposed to be in the Hall of Fame inducted this year. And then Vinny Paz is somebody who fought in the 1980s, was a two-weight world champion. He beat Roberto Duran, and yeah, so he had a really good record. I think it was 50-10, and so they're the kind of two names that I know are meant to be inducted into the Hall of Fame and are supposedly, like I say, meant to be inducted. And there's other names as well, but I'm not too, fully clued up on all of the backstories of all the names that are meant to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, because like I say, it's not really pushed enough. I feel like the Ring Magazine can get involved and do a Hall of Fame night themselves and really push it, and it probably would be really good, but they just haven't really done that. But nonetheless, like I say, this is a big occasion realistically still for any fighter who is on this card. It's nice to see that they are doing a card for it. I suppose that makes there be a bit more eyes on it due to the fact that they are doing a show around it. And the main event is Brandon Moore versus Stanley Wright. Decent heavyweight clash. Moore lost by stoppage versus Richard Torres, so he's not, it's not a crazily high ranked heavyweight matchup. And Stanley Wright's coming off a good win beating Milton on Pro Box card, as that was a good upset win for him, and now he's getting this main event opportunity. But arguably the biggest name in my opinion which is on this card is of course Franchon Crews-Dezurn. She is of course a former undisputed super middleweight champion. She's going for a defense, from what I believe, of her unified belts, being the WBC and WBA World Super Middleweight titles, in which she picked up last time out against Shadesha Green, with a pretty good victory she got there. It was still a close fight, but it was still a more convincing enough victory to look good. And she showcased after the loss versus Savannah Marshall, which, yes, wasn't a devastating loss or anything like that. She still showcased she could fight amongst the upcoming names in the division, with the likes of a Shadesha Green on a Jake Paul undercard. And now, obviously, we've not seen her for a little while. She hasn't fought since December of 2023. And, you kind of got to think, why is she taking this fight of all? Because Ortiz is not a big name. She was in the 2024 Paris Olympics. She fought in the early rounds of that, and then I believe she got knocked out, so she didn't get very far in that. But she still represented, from what I believe, Mexico in that, and so that's probably about all she's done. Professionally, she's not had a crazily good record. She's 4-1. She had a fight. Versus one girl, beat her via, I think, majority decision, then went on to fight her again and lost, so she didn't even make a statement in that rematch, which wasn't really the best. But I think she does have an amateur style, which definitely could cause problems for Franchon Crews-Dezurn. But like I say, it's definitely surprising to see that she's wanting to take this Ortiz fight as a matchup, because I feel like it is a high risk type of fight. The reasoning behind it, there's a few possible ones that I've been theorising over. Perhaps she's waiting for big opportunities, and maybe she's waited around a bit too long for the big opportunities, and she's realised she could have that ring rust creeping in. She is 37 years of age, so she is on the older side of her career. So like I say, she may have realised with that she's waiting a bit too long for these opportunities, and she needs to keep active and keep fighting, because she may get forced she might get given a big lump sum money fight against the winner of Savannah Marshall versus Shadaysha Green. So she wants to be kind of ready for that MVP offer to then get put into that. It wouldn't surprise me if that is the case, because of course MVP is signing a lot of female fighters, and I feel like every world title fight in which I speak about has to have some sort of implications with MVP at the moment, because we kind of are thinking all female champions are either gonna be wanting to join them and fight some of the best, or should or will be joining them to go on to fight the best. So I feel like a Crews-Dezurn definitely could be going on to fight the winner of Marshall versus Green. So again, she might be waiting for a big opportunity. She may be, like I say, trying to keep busy, or she's just wanted to show that she still has it realistically, and showcase that even though she's had this time off, she still can fight at a high level. And obviously it has been a while since we've seen her fight, so she's maybe trying to remind the kind of fans of the how good she is and how skilled she can be, and the fact that she has only lost to the best, and she's always been willing to test herself, and she's perhaps just wanting to showcase on what is still a big night with the Hall of Fame, everything like that going on. It's still a big night. She wants to showcase that she can still fight at a high level and still compete against these upcoming fighters who are have fought with the Olympic team, and fighters who are very good amateurs. I think Ortiz was like a 5-time Mexican champion in the amateurs or something crazy like that. So she has still got a very good amateur record. So Crews-Dezurn, I'm sure, wants to showcase she can still fight at a good level against the youthful fighters coming through. To speak about Crews-Dezurn as a fighter stylistically, she's got high output early on. She throws kind of all over, especially early on. She smothers to stop counters. I think she did that really well against Shadaysha Green. Yes, for the fans, it's perhaps not the most appealing of styles, and it's not going to provide a tremendous amount of entertainment doing that, but she did pretty much just nullify Green throughout that entire fight just by stopping her from being able to counter her when she's coming in, just by smothering at the end. And I think that was on purpose. I don't think that was a clumsy type of thing, or a lazy type of thing, or a tiredness type of thing, or anything like that. I think she was genuinely doing that on purpose. She was showcasing her physicality. She throws big with shots, and she does keep coming forward. She's got slapping shots, which I don't normally promote, but they do seem to provide still a good level of power when she does land with them. So they're a successful shot nonetheless, and so they're clubbing, I suppose, is one way to put it as well. And so there's still decent shots in which she can land when she lands big. She keeps her jab going. She flows off that jab quite well, so she'll follow up off it, and she'll throw a jab and then follow up with a big overhand quite consistently, quite regularly. Perhaps at times it can become a bit sloppy and predictable, but it is quite regular. She's not crazily fast, and I don't think her defensive movement is excellent. I feel like she can move all right in the early rounds. Her head movement's poor, but she inevitably is going to end up going a bit flat-footed throughout the rounds, and kind of leaning forward and falling into her shots even at times, and perhaps overcommitting quite clumsily and throwing from low and getting tired, and that's when these kind of negative things all creep in. She drops her guard. She can be kept at a jab through the minimal head movement. She throws quite wide. She's there to be timed. I think when she fought Savannah Marshall, the success in which Marshall had just by jabbing her was superior. She had them longer levers, Marshall, and she was just consistently able to jab her and just land. And that's just a scoring punch right there. It wasn't really causing too much danger or pain towards Crews-Dezurn, but it was just the continuous, just in the face, something there, landing the better jab than that of Crews-Dezurn, whose jab herself, like I say, isn't awful, but it's just a longer reach of Savannah Marshall was superior for her to being able to get that, to be able to just land consistently and be able to stop her from coming in too close and getting in too close, which is what Shadaysha Green should have been able to do, to be honest, but she just didn't do. To speak about Ortiz as a fighter, she steps into a jab, but quite often throws it to the body. She knows that she's quite a small fighter, so she knows that she has to be able to step into her shots, which she does well, but she doesn't find her range the best when she's aiming for the head, so she does kind of often just step in with a jab to the body, which I feel like could still have good levels of success against somebody like a Crews-Dezurn. I think that could still stop her from coming in too much as long as she keeps consistent with it, which she does typically do. She's got a high output, and I feel like she sustains that high output longer than that a Crews-Dezurn could do, which definitely could play into her favour and showcasing that youthfulness about her. And she has solid movement. I think it's much better again than that of uh, Crews-Dezurn. I think it's going to be better head movement wise, and I think she's also quite relatively disciplined. I don't think she gets greedy with her work. I don't think she smothers her work. If she gets smothered by Crews-Dezurn, how's she going to be reacting? That will be interesting to see. But that, for the most part, she's got solid movement, and that can again stay throughout the entirety of the fight. Well, I mean, the fact that she hasn't fought a 10 rounder yet will be interesting to see if it can go the full 10 round distance. But for the 6 and for the singular 8 rounder she was consistently throwing a lot. She beats you to the punch quite often. She's got the faster hands from what I believe. She can change levels well, and she does give her all. Into the later rounds, you can see her really digging into the shots and just forcing all of her energy into the combinations in which she throws, which is nice to see and is good to see at the same time. Negatives about her, I think obviously the level of opposition in the pro game hasn't been anywhere near the level of which Crews-Dezurn's tested herself with. Of course, you've got to give credit to Crews-Dezurn and her record. She went in on her pro debut against Claressa Shields, which was, a big name to have on her pro debut. Then she's fought the likes of a Cornejo, who's a good competitor, and she was able to beat her. Of course, she fought Marshall, she fought Green as well, and so, it's not always gone in her favour, Crews-Dezurn, but she definitely has fought a good level of opposition. Ortiz finding like a range to the head, like I spoke about, isn't amazing. She is obviously the smaller fighter, so I feel like she could physically have problems with Crews-Dezurn. Her accuracy at times isn't amazing, just in general. She's is she deserving of a shot? I don't really know. Realistically, you could probably find a couple other fighters that maybe would deserve of an opportunity instead. But, this fight, I guess, is here and it makes somewhat sense to an extent with the Olympic pedigree. If she didn't have an Olympic pedigree or wasn't as good of an amateur Ortiz, I would be saying that she doesn't deserve this opportunity. But I feel like you can make somewhat of an argument for it just because of that amateur background. But who do I think is going to win? I actually think that Citlalli Ortiz will win via majority decision. I do think that the speed of her hand will be good. I think the jab, which she steps into the body, will be good. I think that's going to be consistently perhaps keeping a little bit of distance. If she can handle the physicality of Crews-Dezurn into the later rounds, I believe if she isn't getting smothered continuously and being made to, have a messy fight, which Crews-Dezurn probably wants, I feel like she could definitely get off the better work. And if she can withstand still throwing a high output and utilizing solid head movement, because Crews-Dezurn, like I say, is clumsy, she's slower, you can definitely see her punches coming. So if Ortiz doesn't get greedy and does try and keep her head movement going into the later rounds, then I feel like she could definitely have success and beat and win perhaps the rounds from 6 to 10 and still be able to keep fighting even if she does lose a few of the early rounds. And so I do think it'll be a close majority decision, but I do think Ortiz will be able to win, which will be a very big win, of course, for her career. And perhaps she could go on fight a rematch against Crews-Dezurn. If not, I mean, like I mentioned, I feel like Crews-Dezurn was there ready waiting to go in to fight Marshall versus Green, the winner. But maybe Ortiz could get jumped into that line and have a new name. And I feel like she arguably could be a more entertaining fighter than Franchon Crews-Dezurn. So perhaps I'd be here for that as well. And if not, maybe something like a Shields versus Daniels. That's a fight that's happening soon. That could be a good fight. If she wants to have a defense of her titles, Hannah Gabriels could be a good fight. That's a decent name who has lost to Shields, but is on a few fight win streak, which she's gone away and fought at a bit of a lower level of opposition, and maybe she's deserving of another world title opportunity now. So, there definitely is some good matchups there in the super middleweight division, and I'll be very much excited to see a new name in Ortiz come and rise through, and we'll have to wait and see if she can do it. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.